everybody. This is I'm going to be talking about bike chains. Specifically, why it's important to keep your bike chain maintained and replace it kind of regularly if you're a frequent rider. So you're looking at my 2010 GMC Denali road bike. It has about 5,800 miles on it as of now, as of to date. And the chain was replaced rather recently. I replaced it last weekend, and I've gone out for one ride since. The previous chain that was on here for about 4 years. And it was installed when I upgraded the stock crankset for this Vuelta Corsa crankset. This new crankset had much bigger rings, especially up top, which required a bigger chain. So I had to replace the chain at that time. And for the past 4 years, I have not been nearly as much into bicycling as I used to. Of course, before 2014, I was just a college student. I didn't have a regular job, so I had lots of time to kill outside of school, and some of that time was spent on a bike. This bike, you got it in 2011, and I've done upgrades to it over the years, and I have put most of its 5,000 miles at that point through the first 4 years of the time that I've been riding this thing. And over the past 4 years, you get the idea. It hasn't seen that much mileage, but the chain did get worn out rather quickly. And I was, for the most part, not perfectly, but I was for the most part keeping up with maintenance. But if you ride regularly, I mean, in the case of a road bike, you'd be surprised how quickly those miles will add up, and how quickly the dirt will add up on your chain. You want to try to keep that dirt off your chain as much as possible, because number one, when you get dirt on your chain, it wears it out much faster and causes it to stretch, and then therefore will start to wear out your front rings, the cassette and stuff like that. It'll start to get worn out. The teeth will start to wear rather quickly from a stretched chain. And also your shifting will suffer, performance overall will just suffer dearly. And also, when that dirt gets into your chain, a lot less of your leg power makes it to the back wheel, because on a clean chain, there is less resistance. The chain is more willing to move, it's more willing to flex. But when you get dirt in that chain, the chain gets harder, it gets more stiff, it's less willing to bend and stuff like that. So this is a brand new chain. This is actually the Bell Lynx 500 multi-speed chain. It's actually a Taya manufactured chain, and it has just a light coating of wet lube on it. I actually use wet lube on this. You can use dry lube. I think it's more of like a personal preference. The wet lube is, I think, more intended for like mountain biking and biking in wet conditions. Now, most of my biking is done in dry conditions, but with the North Carolina weather that we have during the summertime, sometimes you can get those freak thunderstorms or freak rain showers, and you go from a dry ride to a soaking wet ride really quickly. But anyways, I get the flashlight aimed up really well. That way you can see the chain pretty easily. This chain is rather clean. Hasn't had too much of a chance to get a whole lot of grime on it. Come on, camera, focus. You can do it. Just wanting to focus on the wheel. There we go. You can see the Taya logo on the side of the chain. Yeah, this is the Lynx 500, or the Speedy chain back in the day. They've always used this Taya chain. The previous chain I had on this thing was the Lynx 700, and it was the quote-unquote high 9-speed performance chain. And while it looked nice, it just didn't seem to last very long. I mean, I usually replace my bike chains about every 1,000 miles just to be safe. I mean, the chains are only about $7 at Walmart, and it's like, might as well replace it. Because I'll be honest with you, I had just the chain I just had on here, as I mentioned, been on here for 4 years, it was stretched pretty freaking badly. Let me go and re-aim this flashlight. I'm trying to get some better light here. Essentially, what you can do is, to check your chain for wear, you can take a standard ruler, line the 0 point up with the pin of a link, and this is on a straight part of the chain, by the way, obviously. And on a good chain, the 12-inch marker, the very end of the ruler, should be right there at a pin. Now, in the case of your chain wearing out, it will stretch, and you'll notice that that pin will get further and further and further away. The previous chain that was on here, it was like to here. It was pretty bad. It was actually getting pretty noticeable on riding to it. It actually seemed like the bottom bracket was wearing out, but no, it wasn't the bottom bracket. The bottom bracket's fine. It was the chain. The chain was so stretched that it was starting to wear into the teeth on the the crankset and the cassette. If you look carefully, not sure what this is going to pick up on camera. Just bear with me, I'm trying. This center gear, or the center ring, is the one that I most commonly use on this crankset. And you compare that to the top one. You may be able to see there's a little bit of a difference there. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit. I don't think it's actually near to the point where it needs to be replaced or anything like that, but these things that would, especially when your chain stretches, it will wear things out, especially like on your front rings, your cassette, stuff like that. I know I've probably mentioned it a few times now. I'm sorry, but so the reason why I'm making this video, or what motivated me to make this video, was, I had just cleaned that chain not too long ago, and just after about 100 miles of riding, it was already nice and grungy again. And of course, swapping that worn out chain for this brand new one, and of course, the thing rides like a brand new bike. It shifts perfectly, and I noticed there was a whole lot less drag from the pedals to the rear wheel. Now, I would notice this at times when doing cleanings. And like I say, I try to keep up with this, but nobody's perfect. Sometimes, things get in the way, you forget to do it, or you just get too much into riding that you forget to keep up with it. But it's important that you do. It's really important that you do keep up with chain maintenance. That's something I think that can be easily overlooked, especially if you're not really into bike maintenance, or if you're not someone who brings your bike into a shop for regular maintenance, or you don't do your maintenance yourself. And especially on a mountain bike, you can wear chains out especially fast because, of course, all the dirt and grime off the trail gets in there. But road bike users, you're not out of the woods either, because all that grime on the road gets in there rather quickly too. So, as I mentioned, it's definitely something you should not overlook. Keep the thing clean. I personally like the chain cleaners from Park Tool. Some Walmarts they carry a chain cleaner, and that's made by White Lightning. And let me just be honest, it's a piece of garbage. It doesn't really do a good job at cleaning. The one from Park Tool is a whole lot better. Now, if you're curious about Walmart chains, yeah, I know they're probably not the best chains out there, but I've been using them for years, and I mean, they're $7, and it's like $7 for the Lynx 500. And as I mentioned, I try to replace these things every 1,000 miles or so. Now, I don't remember exactly what the mileage was on this bike when I installed this crankset, but I do think it's probably close to about 1,000 or something like that. I've used these Taya chains for years. I personally don't use the Master Link that they come with. This chain here with the Master Link is just enough chain for this bike. And since I don't like the Master Link, I actually picked up a second chain, and I just took a set of links off the donor chain and add them to this one to make it complete. And I may do a video later on with some tips on how to replace your bike's chain, stuff like that. It's not terribly difficult to do if you have the right tools, which Walmart does carry a chain tool, but it is notorious for breaking. But anyways, it's definitely something you don't want to overlook when it comes to your bike, whether it's a mountain bike, a BMX bike, road bike, or what have you. Keep up with your chain cleaning, and if you just want peace of mind, good performance, just replace the thing. I guess for a road bike, I guess maybe every 1,000 miles. It's really your call. Just as I mentioned, you can just take your ruler and just check it once in a while. Make sure it's not stretched too much, because again, as I mentioned, once it stretches too much, it can wreak havoc on your gears. So anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.